Are you ready to stop shrinking to fit into someone else's version of success? Welcome to Illuminate Your Worth, the podcast that helps you remember who you are and reclaim your light. Hosted by transformation facilitator Heather Stewart, this is your space for soulful conversations, coaching insights, and reminders that you're not here to settle. You're here to shine. Now let's dive in.
You got the power. Do you remember the 80s? I remember the 80s very clearly. And I don't know, I can't remember whether I was listening to the radio or if it just started playing in my head. But that song, You Got the Power, started playing in my head the other day. And, as I have mentioned previously, a lot of my inspiration for the podcasts come during my meditation. And I've talked lots about how your brain needs space to be creative. Apparently, that's where my brain goes wild. And I am Heather, by the way. Sometimes I forget to tell you who I am, although I guess I just assume you know who I am. I am Heather. I am your transformation guide, real life coach. And this is Illuminate Your Worth on the Inspired Choices Network. If you want to come and talk to me and ask me questions and just say hi, even, we're over in the chat room at inspiredchoices.com/chat room. And Danielle's here too, my angel in the background, making sure I stay on track and don't talk when I'm not supposed to. Um, right? I totally heard that song in the title. You got the power. Dun, 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 dun. And then, of course, I went down the rabbit hole of thinking about why people feel like they don't have power and why they look at everything outside of them as the reason why they don't have any power. And you know what? I'm not calling you out. I am not trying to make you feel any particular way. What I love doing is turning on the lights. I think that's my one of my callings in life. Turn on the lights, bring awareness, and then be ready to catch if somebody falls into pieces, be ready to catch the pieces. And that doesn't always happen, sometimes it's just like, hey, arm in arm and off we go. So there has been times, I think probably in everybody's life, where knowingly or unknowingly, they didn't keep their power. And you have the power. You 100% have the power. And if you think you don't have the power, I would love if you came over at some point and explained to me how you don't have the power. Or even leave a comment somewhere on how you don't have the power. Send me a DM if it's private, right? Because I want to have those conversations because I truly believe everyone has their own power. And but they haven't been taught that they have it, and they don't believe they have it. And really, there's not a lot in your life that demonstrates that you have it, except me. I'm here to demonstrate that. So I wouldn't have believed this, say 30, 40 years ago. Yeah, it was quite a while ago when I was with a partner, and you may have listened to, I can't remember what episode it was in, where I unexpectedly to me told you part of my life story. And all of the power of my personage I had given away to this boyfriend. I didn't go out unless he told me I could go out. I didn't go really anywhere unless I was with him. And it came on so subtly, so innocuously, so, it was so quiet. And then that day that I realized, wait a minute, how come I can't decide for myself? Me being the you're not the boss of me girl, maybe that was part of my journey and part of my lesson to live. That's probably it. To live through that, to realize, yeah, your real purpose is to stand up and say no. So it's time for you to do it, honey. Step up and say no. And when it wasn't like boom overnight. It's not like Hollywood where, oh, the angels sang and the lights came down and suddenly I was a brand new person. I still had to work kind of to find my way to what that meant for me. And yours won't look exactly like mine, which is kind of awesome because if we were all the same, it would be so boring, so boring. So I love the diversity. I love how everybody is different. I love debating with people about whatever. Um, I love, and not because I hold an opposite opinion, just because part of it is just understanding their opinion and where that comes from. But think about this, I spent 12 years with this person, and I did have my epiphany, and I did have my wake up call, and I did make some changes. But then it's like you're bumping around in the dark trying to figure out, well, if that wasn't right, do I go this way? Do I go this way? How does this new awareness express for me? And life is all about life is all about lessons, friends. That's why we're here. We're here for the lessons. So one of the things that I had to learn about was that I didn't have to be nice all the time. And that's not to say I had to be mean, but people pleasers, the people who will say yes, they will do everything they can to keep harmony, even to their own detriment. And there is a place and time for keeping the peace. Yes, I agree with that. But I don't think keeping the peace should disempower people. If you're in a space where you're saying yes to something when you know in your heart that you should say no, that's that's you giving your power away. That's you saying yes. Saying yes, I'll do that. It's like you're just thinking about saying it as you feel yourself kind of wilting. Okay. And if you say yes to something, it should be, yes, this is the correct thing for me to do. Even if it's something you don't want to do, sometimes it is the correct thing for you to do. Like I talked about, I think it was last week, doing the dishes. I don't want to do it, but it's the correct thing for me to do. Uh, so you always have the power to choose for yourself. And the choice that you make for yourself, even if you choose, you've probably heard this a million times, making no choice is still a choice. Letting someone else choose for you, that is a big not choice, giving your power away, not choosing. Because if you let someone else make the decision right away, you're there saying, well, my opinion doesn't matter. Here, you do it. I've just had a thought. Did you see that? If you're watching the video, that's what a thought bubble looks like when it comes into Heather's head. So think about the times in your life, past, maybe even current, where maybe you let someone else make your decision for you. And I mean, I feel like I've got a minefield behind me of things that I've done in my life where I've done that. That's how I became an accountant because I wasn't really sure what direction I wanted to go. And so someone else made the decision for me and I became a CPA. Which is interesting because the whole time I was growing up when I was a little kid, if anybody asked me what I was going to be when I grew up, I was going to be a veterinarian and I was going to be an artist. How does that become an accountant? How does that happen? There's a song right now called Don't Give Up on Your Daydream by this lovely young woman. It's something Hawaiian that I can't really pronounce. And when you listen to the words, it's like a stab to the heart. Ooh. Because she says, when you're young and you dream about being astronauts and rock stars, nobody ever tells you that you're wrong. But then you go to school for your plan B because those dreams you have when you're a little kid, those aren't real. Those are little kids. What do they know? They don't know real life. I'd say little kids know real life more than we give them credit for, and we are do them a disservice to take that away from them. And when we're taking that away from them, we are taking their power from them. Don't take your kids' power from them. Let your kids grow up strong, independent, and aware that they can make the decisions for themselves. So when you say yes to something, or when you say you let someone else make a decision for you, it's like you're outsourcing that decision. I remember one of my exes once said to me that he's the term external locus of control. I'm like, what are you talking about? Because it was very opposite from how I viewed the world. He said, anything that goes wrong, it's something that's happened. You can blame something outside of you. I'm like, really? That's how he operated in his life. It's like, okay, well, yeah, no, that doesn't work for me. And I don't think it really worked very well for him, AKA X, right? So when you outsource those decisions, then that person could have your best interest at heart. The person who sent me to university for becoming an accountant, they probably had good intentions. It just wasn't aligned with who I was. And I didn't have a really good sense of who I was, which is probably why I outsourced that decision at that time. So when you're trying to keep other people happy, or if you believe that's just how things are in life, I don't agree with that either. If you're like, oh, that's just the way it is, that's outsourcing as well. Think about physical. I had this debate with my doctor the other day, and she gave me well, it's just part of aging. I'm like, bull puckies, it's part of aging. I said, you can't use that line on me. I do too much research. I know too much information. I know my body too well. I know that you're like, I know doctors are swamped with so much information and they have so much going on and they're trying to look after so many people. But don't give me that's just the way it is line, because I don't accept that. And if I accepted that, I would have outsourced the power of taking care of my physical health to someone else. I will talk to my doctor. I will take her advice. I will not use Dr. Google to solve all my health problems, but I will use research and trusted sources of health information to find out alternatives to the mainstream healthcare system and the way that it's kind of stretched and unable maybe to look at the finer details of each individual that they speak with. So letting someone take that control of your decision making, of course you feel like your life is not yours to make decisions about. Of course you're going to feel like, well, I've been doing all this work on myself, but really nothing's changing. Maybe it's just you haven't really taken a hold of, I love the image of not the handlebars, the steering wheel. Handlebars can be fun too, on a bike. You get the e-bikes zipping around everywhere in the city. Watch out. Those guys move fast, but you might be safer in a car. So it's not rude. It's not rude to speak for yourself. It's not rude to say no to people. It's not rude to choose for yourself. It's not rude to make decisions on your behalf and not let someone else do them for you. If you've always done this, it may feel in the beginning a little icky, a little eek. Oh, what are they going to say? They may not react in the best way if you've always just bowed to other people's wishes and let other people make the decisions for you. But come on, uncomfortable feelings don't last forever. And uncomfortable feelings are just information for you. So it feels uncomfortable because you're making a different choice and you're not used to it yet. Remember that episode on transformation? If you didn't listen to it, go back and listen to it. Seriously, being in discomfort just means that you are stretching and flexing those muscles of grabbing onto your power. So we're going to come back in a moment and we're going to talk about how other ways you might recognize yourself in this, and maybe some ways to stop doing it would be great, wouldn't it? So I am Heather. This is Illuminate Your Worth, and we're on the Inspired Choices Network. We'll be right back in a moment.
What if your too much was actually your superpower? On Illuminate Your Worth, Heather Stewart guides you back to your truth with coaching, mindset shifts, and powerful conversations designed to light up every corner of your life, from career and creativity to wellness and worth. Tune in weekly and discover how to stop surviving and start thriving on your own terms. Listen to Illuminate Your Worth with Heather Stewart on the Inspired Choices Network and wherever you get your podcasts.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
You're listening to Illuminate Your Worth with Heather Stewart. Want to connect live during the show? Join the studio audience in the chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send questions or coaching requests to info@heatherstewart.coach. Let's get back to today's episode and your path to a thriving life.
The path is your own, 100%. But let's talk about which direction you want to go. We are talking today about we're talking about the 80s. You got the power. Doom, doom, doom. And I'm Heather, and I can't sing. And we're on Inspired Choices Network. This is the podcast, Illuminate Your Worth. And we, even though I talk about serious topics, and I do this in yoga too, I do talk about serious topics and the ways that I want to help people shift onto their own path in a way that works for them. But life, sometimes you get a little too serious. And I found this when I was going through a lot of personal transformation and personal development. Everybody was always so serious. And it's like, no, this is serious. There's no laughing in yoga. I was like, oh. Because when I teach yoga, I laugh the whole time. And life isn't meant to be so serious. We can take it seriously, but we don't have to be serious, if that makes sense. So while I'm talking about taking back your power, I am being very serious. I want you to take back your power. But I don't want you to feel like this seriousness almost feels like this kind of constricted space, right? This I can't expand and be myself. Serious feels like it's confining. And maybe that's me. Being serious would be very confining for me. Imagine me as an accountant having to be serious all the time. Oh my goodness. No wonder I felt confined. But when you're finding that feeling of taking your life seriously and being playful, taking your life seriously and taking your power seriously, yet still being playful, life becomes light. Life becomes easy. Saying no doesn't feel mean or hard. Saying no is, no, I don't want to do that. But thank you for offering. Thank you for offering to help me. But no, I don't want to do that. Doesn't that feel nicer? I know a coach in Australia who her whole business is teaching people how to say no. Can you imagine your whole business? She's called the Nope Coach. Her whole business is teaching people how to say no and be okay with it. And if you can run your whole business on that, that says a lot about how many people are saying yes to things that they would rather not say yes to, right? I know I talk about Mark Manson quite often, the subtle art of not giving a F. And there's another book, like his whole brand is written on, basically reclaiming your power. And boundaries aren't mean. Sometimes we feel like when I was a little kid, I remember, I can't remember if my mother told me this or my grandmother told me this. Apparently there was a corner store up at the corner of our street that we lived on. And I would go there to pick up something from mom in the 70s. I was probably picking her up cigarettes. They won't let you do that anymore. But, and apparently the shopkeeper said, "Oh, Heather is so quiet and polite. She just stands in the back and waits until it's her turn." And, so you get this vision that you are rewarded for just being quiet and polite and staying in the background until you're called upon. That's that's another way to not really, it's not like I'm going to go in and be rude, but that visual that I get is just someone waiting for someone else to tell them what to do. Right? Now, I was a shy little kid, so it's not surprising that I sat in the back and wait because I was pretty shy. It's hard to believe now, isn't it? Oh my goodness. You wouldn't have recognized me 30 years ago. But this illusion of being stuck in this space where we can't make our decisions for ourselves is an illusion. It's an illusion. You can start by today. You can start today just by making one decision that you take something and you decide for yourself what you want. Excuse me. So let's think about this. So can you think about somewhere in your life right now where you feel like you don't have a choice about something? Is there somewhere where you don't have a choice? And then let's think about that for a minute. Is it true that you don't have a choice? And I have heard this in multiple ways from multiple people of how they have no choice, where I can point out many choices that they have. And this is where the yeah buts come. Yeah, but I can't do that because, yeah, but I can't do that because. And the yeah buts are a way that you give away your power because you can choose to do something different. It's very rare that you can't choose to do something different. So an example, let me think here. So I know a couple who they have a home and they have a cottage and they have a couple of vehicles and their children are all grown up and have moved away. And they complain about the drive to the cottage and they complain about housework at home and housework at the cottage. And I know you're thinking first world problems. I know, I get it, but that's not my point. So a suggestion was, well, why don't you sell one of the properties because you're both retired and just live in one? Oh, no, we can't do that. So right off, no, they said no, they can't. Well, why? Why can't you? Well, what if the kids come home? Well, they're grown-ups and they've moved away. So they're technically, in my day, you're on your own. See you later. Have a good life. Come back and visit. But they can come and visit in either space. So why do you need to maintain two residences? And if you don't want to go back and forth, just live in one and get rid of the other. Well, we can't because of this, because. So often the limitations that we see in our choices are imposed by some limitation that we have created in our minds. And sometimes, like, I understand wanting to have space for your kids when they come home and maybe someday grandkids and all of those things. Or if you want to trying to think of another example right now. It's just gone out the side of my head. I can't, it left, stage left. But there's that limitation of the not exploring the possibilities and shutting them down before you even consider them means that you have outsourced the power of your decision. So this couple has outsourced the power of their decision almost in some ways to their children, and their children probably have no idea. That's that external locus of control. So where are you giving away your choices in life? And that doesn't mean you're going to choose any of them, but be open-minded to brainstorm. I used to run brainstorming sessions. And one of the rules in a brainstorming session, this was in corporate life, one of the rules in a brainstorming session is you do not shut down any idea at all. Even if it's the most insane idea, everything goes on the whiteboard, everything. Because when you start putting limitations on brainstorming, it shuts down the creativity. So the brainstorming is just throwing out ideas, even if they're crazy, right? Buy a helicopter, fly back and forth. Like, it's like all of the things that you could possibly think of. The reason that works is because each idea feeds on the other idea, and you may come down to a brilliant idea you never thought of. So saying no, you don't have a choice, shuts down your ability to see your choices and gives away your power. This is our theme, right? So instead of saying you don't have any choice, turn away from that and say, what do I want? Instead of this thing that I think I have no choice about, what do I want? What does that look like? This may take you a few minutes to think about this. What do you want? So like one of the questions, this is what coaches do. They ask you these reframing questions. And, one of the questions for my friends is, well, what do you want? Do you want to live at the cottage? Do you want to live in the city? Do you want to be free to go back and forth? Do you want to be free not to have house and yard work? There's plenty of solutions for all of those things. What is it really that you want? And getting down to the really, really what you want sometimes takes a little peeling back of the layers, peeling back of it's almost like a decision tree. So something popped into my head about, there was that thinking bubble, go by again, about a woman who decided she needed to learn to type faster. And so she was trying to figure out this was when there was typing pools. So it's a number of years ago. When I got my first job in the accounting firm, there was a typing pool for real. And some of the financial statements I worked in a CA firm, a chartered accountants firm. Some of the financial statements were still typed out onto paper, white out and the whole bit. So the story is, I might have to wait for this to finish the story for after the break. So before we go on to our break though, while you're waiting for the rest of the story about this typist, I want you to think about your story. I want you to think about your story. Where in your life are you giving away a choice? Just pick one, just pick one. And when you're thinking about that thing where you're letting someone else make the choice for you, I want you to think about, what would you prefer instead? And it doesn't have to be detailed. It's just like, could be a feeling. It could be, what outcome do I want instead? What direction do I want instead? There's so many ways to frame it. Like, what would you prefer instead of whatever this is that you think that you don't have a choice about? I want you to think about that. And then when I come back, I'm going to tell you about this typist who wanted to learn to type faster. I took typing classes in high school. That's why I can keyboard. Now they call it keyboarding. Nah, that's why I can keyboard with all 10 fingers, right? But this is something to think about. Something to think about for you while we go on to the break. Stay tuned. I am Heather. This is Illuminate Your Worth, and we're on the Inspired Choices Network, and we will be back in just a moment.
What if your too much was actually your superpower? On Illuminate Your Worth, Heather Stewart guides you back to your truth with coaching, mindset shifts, and powerful conversations designed to light up every corner of your life, from career and creativity to wellness and worth. Tune in weekly and discover how to stop surviving and start thriving on your own terms. Listen to Illuminate Your Worth with Heather Stewart on the Inspired Choices Network and wherever you get your podcasts.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
You're listening to Illuminate Your Worth with Heather Stewart. Want to connect live during the show? Join the studio audience in the chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send questions or coaching requests to info@heatherstewart.coach. Let's get back to today's episode and your path to a thriving life.
Right. I know you hung out so you could hear the story, didn't you? Thank you for staying and hanging out with me, my friend. And of course, if you're staying, I'd love, love if you, whatever platform you like to listen on, just pop on over. Just takes a minute to click the 5-star review and just give a little comment. That would be amazing, because the more people who can find us, the better, right? The more lights we can turn on together. And I was just reading something. I was like, oh yeah, go around to the App Store. Did you know that there's an app you can listen to the podcasts on an app? I remember when apps were first like the big crazy thing. Oh, there's an app for that. There's an app for that. And interestingly, I'm going to get to the typist story, but on the radio this morning, I was listening. I just was walking through the room, so I didn't listen to the whole report, but it was talking about how Chat GPT is almost like fiction becoming reality. Remember that movie where that guy fell in love with Siri? Well, whatever the version of Siri was that they called it in the movie. So now people are having relationships with AI, with their Chat GPT. And I have a relationship with my Chat GPT, but it's a computer program relationship, user relationship. It's not like I'm not asking it for, love advice or anything. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? So, yes. Anyway, the typist. Yes. So there was a typist. And this is talking about taking back your control by taking back the decisions that you make for yourself, not letting someone else make your decision for you. Because you, believe me or not, have the power to choose. And I'm trying to prove to you that you do. So there was this typist back in the days of typing pools who decided that she wanted to learn to type faster. And I believe she had a mentor. This is an actual true story. I believe she had a mentor that was helping her and wanted to know, like, what do you want to type faster? And she wanted to type faster because she wanted to make more money. Okay, that's fair. A lot of people want to make more money just because they want to make more money. So it was like, well, why do you want to make more money? And she wanted to make more money because she wanted to move. Okay, so she was living, it's like in the inner city of New York, I think it was, or something. And I don't know the area very well. So it was like she wanted to move into the suburbs or something. Okay, so yeah, I can see that. You want to move somewhere a little bit different. And she wanted to move somewhere bigger. was another piece of information. Okay, you want to move somewhere bigger? Okay. Why? You know, what's driving that decision? And apparently, what was driving the decision was her mother lived in her own apartment somewhere, a little ways away from her. And so they were maintaining two apartments, and her mother was getting older, and she wanted to be able to look after her mother. So she needed somewhere bigger. And she didn't want her mother to be in the city anymore. So she wanted to move her somewhere nice, somewhere bigger, where the two of them could live together with a garden and she could take care of her mother. So all of this comes around to, well, there are other ways to make more money than just learning to type faster. But that was a bit of a blinders on. All she could see was that one solution to the problem that she had before her. And when you put those blinders on and can only see one solution, well, it's in the name. You are blinded to other potential opportunities to change things. So when you are thinking about, so while we were on the break, you were thinking about, hopefully, where you were giving away a choice that you needed to make. And to take your power back, you were going to think about what you wanted instead. And then the next thing you need to do, my friend, is to think about what are your options for stepping into that choice. Does it mean you're going to say no to something that you've been saying yes to? Does it mean you're going to say yes to something that you've been saying no to? I mean, it can go either way, right? Does it mean that you are going to start changing some of the things that you're doing on a regular basis? And this doesn't have to be big. You don't have to march into your boss's office and say, I'm never picking up your dry cleaning again, and then march out. It could just be something simple. And whatever led you to this place where if you've been having those moments where you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize I was giving my power away. I didn't realize that I was letting that person make that decision for me. I didn't realize that I was doing this. This is not to make you feel bad in any way, shape, or form. No, no, no. This is just to bring awareness. You can't change anything if you don't know that you're aware of it. So I have I want to say order of operations, but it's not really. I have this flow that I see has to happen for anything to change in your life. The first thing that has to happen is you have to become aware of it. If you don't know what's happening, when I didn't realize, and you could say, Heather, how could you not have realized that the relationship with the guy who controlled my life? How could you not have realized that? Yeah, I know I can't really explain how I went that long without recognizing what was going on. It's like I was asleep. But when I woke up and realized and became aware of it, I couldn't not see it. And I couldn't just leave it. And I'll be completely honest, it took me 2 years to finagle and figure out how to unwind myself from that specific relationship, because I tried to see if I could, find my boundaries staying within that relationship. So push back a little bit and see what happens. Push a little bit and see what happens. Push a little bit and see what happens. And like I said, it wasn't instantaneous. There came a point where I said, okay, it's not going to change. And for me to have my own power, I'm going to have to make that decision and take it back and leave. So when we're making those decisions, it's not to make you feel bad. It's to make you aware, that awareness step. After the awareness step, you got to decide what you want. So that's like, what do you want instead? What do you want? Make a decision. Then there's a piece that people forget to do. Believe it or not. You're like, I made my decision. Yeah, you got to take an action. You have to do something. You have to change something. You've made a decision. The next thing that has to happen is you have to put an energy into that decision. And an energy into a decision is an action, right? So think about, I mean, the easy example that I use a lot is I've decided to get into shape. This is the New Year's Eve thing. The New Year's Eve, I'm going to the gym. I've decided I'm going to get into shape. Okay, going to get into shape. But yeah, I'm actually going to go to the gym. Oh, I don't have to just decide to get into shape. I have to actually go do it. Yes. So I've been a personal trainer for 20 years. Is that right? Oh my goodness. And one of my favorite things to say to my clients is, I can't do your push-ups for you. Sorry. If you want to get stronger, you got to do the push-ups yourself. I will stand here. I will cheer you on. I will help you. I will guide you. I will give you suggestions. I will distract you. Whatever you need, I will be here for you. But you got to do the push-up. So when you make a decision, you got to do your own push-ups. You've got to make a decision. And starting small, if you're new at owning your power, start small. And start with someone that it feels safe to start with, you know? Sometimes saying no to someone who has in your feeling too big and powerful an energy for you to push against. If you want to take your power back from them, that might not be the best place for you to start. The best place for you to start might be with, a best friend and confidant person who you just practice saying, you don't have to tell them that what you're doing, just practice saying no, or practice voicing what you want. That's a big lesson to learn, voicing what you want. That took me a long time after that relationship to be able to voice what I wanted. And it's very interesting to see when I look back to see the progression. Yeah, wow. But look how far you can come. I'm not saying you're going to jump out and host your own show, but if you knew me, if you did know me, some people who watch did know me. If you knew me then, do you recognize me today? I don't recognize me at all. Taking your power back isn't about being a jerk. And it's about aligning with what you want. And if you have given away your power and you recognize it, that doesn't mean that you've done something wrong. Like, don't give yourself a hard time. Just unchoose that. Just choose something different, right? Start to make different choices. Start to say different things. Start to respect yourself. And I just looked down at, there's a quote I wrote down. No is self-respect dressed up as a word. Can you imagine? No, I'm wearing my self-respect grown-up adulting outfit today. No is a word. And it doesn't mean you have to be loud. It doesn't mean you have to be forceful. It doesn't mean you have to be pushy. Because being pushy is like pushing energy outwards, right? And when someone is making a choice for you, that's almost what they're doing. They're pushing their energy upon you. Saying no is just like stopping that energy at the gates. Making a choice for yourself, whether it's a yes or a no. No is just an easy way to describe it. Having your self-respect and making the best decisions for you is just closing the gates to people's energy pushing in on you. And you just hold the line. This is my space. This is my decision. This is what's good for me. This is how I'm going to live my life. And you do not need anyone's approval. You do not need anyone's approval to do this. Good Lord. Right there in that whole sentence, if you're waiting for someone's approval, to own your life and you aren't owning your life. Oh my goodness. Oh, my brain, my poor brain. Yeah, and sometimes I jokingly give people permission slips. I'm like, here's your permission slip to own your life. I'm not going to do that today because I want you to write your own damn permission slip. Write it on a piece of paper if you need to and stick it on your wall. I have permission to own my life. God damn it. And that is your decision to move forward. We are going to go on a break. Can you believe it? How these how does the time travel like this? Am I transversing time? That's a superpower. So we're going to go on a quick break. I'm going to come back with some questions for you to just noodle over and some final thoughts. And I would love if you stayed and came back and hung out with me for just a few more minutes. So here we go off on our break. I'm Heather on Illuminate Your Worth, and we'll see you after the break.
What if your too much was actually your superpower? On Illuminate Your Worth, Heather Stewart guides you back to your truth with coaching, mindset shifts, and powerful conversations designed to light up every corner of your life, from career and creativity to wellness and worth. Tune in weekly and discover how to stop surviving and start thriving on your own terms. Listen to Illuminate Your Worth with Heather Stewart on the Inspired Choices Network and wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening to Illuminate Your Worth with Heather Stewart. Want to connect live during the show? Join the studio audience in the chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send questions or coaching requests to info@heatherstewart.coach. Let's get back to today's episode and your path to a thriving life.
You know what? During the commercials, if you're not a commercial person, you could always pop over and give the 5-star review, right? And there must be somewhere for you to subscribe. I love subscribing to podcasts because I get so much value out of them. If you are getting value, share it with a friend as well. That would be amazing. And you can reach me at info@heatherstewart.coach. You can go to my website, heatherstewart.coach. I believe that my new website, which I'm so excited about, is almost ready. It's almost ready. Oh my gosh. It just feels so aligned with me. And this was interesting. This really aligns well with today's episode. We're on, I'm Heather. This is Illuminate Your Worth. Yes, we're talking about you got the power. Doom, 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 doom. And I feel like I got to sing every time I say that. When I did my coaching website initially, I was so overwhelmed with things that I just said, gave it to this person to get them to build it. And I just like, yeah, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine. And that was me outsourcing a little bit, outsourcing my power, because then I could say, oh, well, if you don't like my website, if it doesn't align, well, I didn't build it. If it's not calling the right people in, well, I didn't build it. I mean, I did because it was my call to have this person build it. So right now, and I'm not saying my website is bad. I'm just using this as an example, but my new one is so perfect and aligned for me and the message and what I'm trying to do. I'm super excited. And we were talking about permission, and we are taught through our youth to always ask permission. Can I go to the bathroom? Can I leave the room? Can I leave the table? Don't forget to say please and thank you. And I have no problem with being polite. And I had a British my gran, so you definitely had to say please and thank you. But you don't have to have permission to be in charge of your life. That wasn't in the rule book. That's not in the rule book. And if you're waiting for permission, then no one is going to give it to you. You don't have to fight for it. You just have to decide that it's yours. It's yours. There's no need to fight for it. You've already earned it by being born. You do not have to fight. It's already yours. So if you were going to think about things some thoughts for you. So where in your life are you saying yes? This is one we were thinking about earlier, where you really want to say no. If you knew you couldn't disappoint someone, is there a different choice that you would make? Sometimes that's the clue of what, if you can't think of what you actually want for yourself, if you weren't going to disappoint anyone, what would you choose? Right? And whose approval are you waiting for to give you permission? You know, if you need to, go into a meditation and ask your higher self. Your higher self will give you permission. What would you change if you were believed you were allowed to set boundaries without guilt? Spoiler alert, you are allowed to set boundaries without guilt. So go ahead. Go ahead and set them. They're not walls that you're building between you and other people. They are your energetic space of making sure that you use self-respect, right? Where have you thought that you didn't have a choice? And what if that wasn't true? And I've talked about that a little bit. You know, so many times we have choices and we think we have no choice, but we do. Where have you done that to yourself? And when was the last time you felt really powerful in your own skin? And if it was never, think about that. But if you can remember one, what was happening at the time? What were you doing? You know, what was the situation? And think about who you were at that time. And can you find that energy in new situations? And then what are you ready to take back? I don't expect you to just be able to shoot these answers off, right? You don't have to be able to shoot these answers off, but you do have your power, and you do yourself a disservice by not owning that power. And I've said this before at the end of shows, because the world needs more of you, and whatever that capacity is, whatever that was meant to be. And if you are giving your decisions and away to other people, so you know that awareness, decision, action, if someone makes the decision and you do the action based on their decision, then that's not an action for you necessarily, right? So taking your home written permission slip, if you need to forge somebody else's signature to make you feel better, who ever tried to forge their parents' signature? I could never do it. Just start really small. Start really small. Take your permission slip, start small, and start to see what shifts for you. If you just start with something easy, somewhere that you can just start to practice having your boundaries, owning your power, and making the decision that is the best for you. They're not all world-changing, epic, giant, quit your job and run away with the circus decisions, right? They can just be the small voice that says no to going to a shower for someone you don't like. Or, why would you feel guilty about that? Oh, what will they think? Who cares what they think? Dr. Seuss says, those that mind don't matter, and those that matter don't mind. And he was a very wise man, that Dr. Seuss. You should go back and read the Places You'll Go book if you need some inspiration. So thank you, my friend, for coming and hanging with me to talk about power. I promise not to sing again, but your power. I want you to own it. I want you to step into that powerful human that you are. And I want you to shine your brilliance wherever it is supposed to shine, because that's how we will change the world. Tune in again next week. I am Heather. This is Illuminate Your Worth on the Inspired Choices Network. See you next time.
Thank you for tuning into Illuminate Your Worth. Heather Stewart will be back next week to help you shift your mindset, reclaim your joy, and build a life that fits you. Catch the next episode on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific. Until then, take one inspired step today and keep shining.